it is kind of curious too. There's another term that I'm hearing pronounced by a lot of these people that are being interviewed, more particularly the people involved with the law enforcement aspect of it and the military, um, where they're using what appears to be somewhat of a new term, where instead of saying we're moving forward or as we're moving forward, they're using the term leaning forward. So
of the drone from the day of the
I
rally.
think
And
that's
no,
kind of
about 11
interesting
minutes.
because when Ray's talking here about the drone that was allowed to be flown over the location by the supposed shooter,
I think it's around 3:50 p.m. to 4 p.m.
he actually uses that terminology.
It's about 200 yards away
So
from where former President Trump would ultimately be
don't
speaking.
know.
And so
I
that was
think
primarily
it's
given to
curious
points.
because if you remember a few years ago, we went from the terminology of UFO to UAP. So again, I have to point out there is a difference between moving forward in general, in the general definition of the phrase moving forward, and the general definition of leaning forward. Leaning forward would imply that there's going to be a little bit more aggression
The former president's podium is
moving forward. They're
drone would
leaning
be
into some of
over
these
here,
things.
looking, say
He
200
actually
yards
says
again,
it. He actually
off this
uses
way,
the term.
looking back. So it would have shown the shooter, we think. Again, we're still doing more work on this. I really want to qualify what I'm saying. I'm trying to be transparent and lean in here. We think it would have shown him
Trying to be
kind of
transparent
what would have been
and
shown
lean
the
in
shooter,
here.
we think. Again, we're still doing more work on this. I really want to qualify what I'm saying. I'm trying to be transparent and lean in here.
Yeah, and again, because I'm repetitive, I'll say it again. I've noticed quite a few of these characters using that same term of leaning forward or leaning in. As I'm, going through this, I'm trying to lean in, and as we're leaning forward, I don't. There's a difference. There really is. I believe there is a difference, and when it comes to Trump, there's been a couple of narratives posed that this whole thing was some kind of an attempt by, some actors in other countries as a form of retaliation. And when Trump was in office, he signed a lot of executive orders that definitely threatened, the livelihood of a lot of different people. I mean, this one here is blocking property and suspending entry of certain persons contributing to the situation in Mali. And let's talk about Iran. And I'm going to put my prediction out there right now, folks. I predict, and I'm saying this based on just this whole thing that's playing out over the last, 5, 6 years or so, even. Um, there's going to be a very big confrontation going on there in Iran, and I got a feeling that we are just going to completely decimate Iran. And this whole thing, maybe through investigations, it's going to come out that this whole thing with Trump was, in fact, a failed assassination attempt. That this will be the narrative, that they're going to put it forward that it was because of Trump's actions and all of the things that he did that threatened people's livelihoods, that pretty much forced people into wanting to take him out, and the attempt failed. And now, there's going to be retaliation. I mean, we can look at some of these executive orders. This was from 2018 in reimposing sanctions with respect to Iran. 2020 imposing sanctions with respect to additional sectors of Iran. 2019 imposing sanctions with respect to Iran. Blocking property of certain persons with respect to the conventional arms activities of Iran. Taking additional, this was in 2019, taking additional steps to address the national emergency with respect to significant transnational criminal organizations. And what did we see recently too? We also saw Chapo's son arrested recently, right? They're going to amp up that narrative too. They're going to amp up that little thing too, the war on drugs. Okay, all of these different types of chaos, chaotic events and choreographed chaos, as I like to call it, they're going to keep amping it up because they need that constant um, environment. They need that environment in order for them to move and lean forward. Okay. In order for them to continue to lean forward, they need these chaotic environments so that they can respond to the chaotic environments and be able to create this resilient foundation that they can continue to lean forward in some of their projects and stuff. This was another one of his orders that I thought was kind of curious. In March of 2019, coordinating national resilience to electromagnetic pulses. And I know I've mentioned it before in other videos when I shared the video of that line of energy that came into the valley back on August 11th of 2018. We're coming up on another anniversary of that. So I'll probably reshare that one here soon in the next couple of weeks, where the camera captured what looked like this line of energy, this very large bubble looking line of energy pushing down on our atmosphere, moving towards us from the south, from the extreme south. And at a time when the sun was almost directly above our location, it could not have come from the sun. It was a blast or something that came from the extreme South Pacific. And what do we know is out in the extreme South Pacific? They're testing and they're proving grounds. And I think it's curious that after I capture that in August of 2018, here it is, Trump, 6, 7 months later, signs an executive order to strengthen our national resilience to EMPs. And he talks about EMPs and GMDs, geomagnetic disturbances and stuff like that too. But I think the kind that he was emphasizing in this whole executive order was to help with coordinating for continuity of government operations as well, because I do believe that Trump is heavily involved in moving that type of a program and agenda forward as well, the continuity of government operations. And that's why I tend to think that this whole situation with this event that occurred on July 3rd is part of this process. They have to test these systems. They have to have scenarios and situations that they've never experienced before so that they can prepare for it in case it does happen in the future. And this situation on July 3rd exposed some things about it, communication lines in particular, because I hear them mentioning about communication failures where it would suggest that some of these organizations and these local authorities didn't do their part in coordinating like they were supposed to because